Hey, what's going on, everybody? Remember me? This is Mike Brown of The Art of Letting Go, and I wanted to welcome y'all to this week's episode. I know it's been a while, but the show is coming back. I've just been trying to navigate life, the reasons that I started this podcast, but we are back. I do record every week still. Those are on the Patreon, which you can sign up for free. I think Patreon has changed it now where users can sign up for free. So please subscribe to my Patreon, run the numbers up. But this week's episode is from our live show that we did at the Ludlow house in New York. I'm trying to do more live shows, y'all. So if you want me to come to your city, let me know. And I'll try my best to make my way out there. We'll figure something out. But we had a really good conversation. It's Pride Month. Happy Pride to everybody. And, we just do what we do. We just have conversations, let people listen in, join in. And I hope you all really enjoy this conversation. Wherever you're at in the world listening, I thank you so much and enjoy the show. All right, everybody. How we doing tonight? How y'all doing? Welcome to The Art of Letting Go. This is our first live episode of the year. We got a couple more coming up this summer. Before we get started, though, I kind of just wanted to let everybody know that representation matters. We want y'all to know that we see everybody in the room. So we're going to kind of go through a couple of questions before we jump into the episode. But, we want to just see who's here. Who in here? Y'all ready? Mm-hmm. All right. Yo, what up? This is Mike Brown, and this is The Art of Letting Go. Today, I have a special guest in the building. We're in a special building. We're at the Ludlow house, but I have a special guest in the building. He is a singer, songwriter, thought leader, moving into music production, Grammy nominated, queer activist. Am I leaving anything off? Bad bitch. YawnyBlew.
Thank you. Hi, friends.
So everybody, today's conversation is Pride Month, is Juneteenth. We are the intersectionality on this very day, in this very moment. So we are having a conversation about pride. So I would like to know, what does pride mean to you? YawnyBlew, what does pride mean to you?
Pride for me has become a time to just be present and connect with people and just be visible. Like, it's a time to be visible and make sure that I'm representing everybody that exists at my intersections, because sometimes I feel underrepresented. So that's what pride means to me. Showing up.
That's dope. I think this year pride feels different for me. Like, I can remember those first prides of just wanting to go to the event because that's what you do when you're gay, right? You just go to pride. And it was fun. It was a party. And I think as time progressed, I started learning the history of pride and just understanding it in a different way. And in this phase of my life, because I didn't have a model of what this life was supposed to look like, I really take pride in being Mike Brown fully, like, not just as a queer person, not just as a black person, as a man, like just as a full being. And I just try to project that in the world as much as I possibly can. Would anybody like to come to the mic and share what pride means to them? Anybody want to share?
Hello. My name is Ty McKinney. What pride means to me, I'm the one who put community, perseverance, and liberation. Community first and foremost, because we need each other, whether it's Pride season or not. We're still here, we're still queer, we're still making things happen. Perseverance, because we're still dealing with opposing forces, whether it be all the isms, racism, homophobia, transphobia, queerphobia, all the stuff. We're still dealing with that on a day-to-day basis. It does not stop, even during Pride Month, I know. So yeah, perseverance and liberation, because we deserve to live life to the fullest. We deserve to celebrate ourselves, to honor the ancestors that came before us, and just to be our badass selves. So, yeah, that's what Pride means to me.
Period. Well, Ty, I love that you said community because that's what we came to talk about. The definition of, and that wasn't even planned. But the definition of community is a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. So we're going to talk a little bit about community. And I wanted to know, how do you define community, YawnyBlew?
Man, I am heavy in redefining community as a creative and as somebody who has worked through life trying to find success through my creativity. I think a lot of times I put the word community on people that I was creating with and not always pouring into them in a way that really makes sense, kind of transactional. So I'm redefining community and trying to just make sure that I'm pouring into people in an authentic way, understanding that everybody's not going to be my best friend, or, just really having honest connections with people. And that's kind of how I've been defining community in this version of my life.
Is your community made up of, what is your community made up of? Is it only queer people? Is it only musicians? What does your community look like?
For a long time, my community was very diverse, but recently it's been more queer, more Black, and I think that's just been a product of me not really seeing myself in the people that I was spending time with and needing that mirror, kind of feeling alone, feeling othered. So I've surrounded myself with more Black queer people, just as a sounding board and as a way to just find more appreciation for who I am and what I do, and being able to build up people like myself.
That's really cool. How do you create community? Because I know that, we've had conversations of maybe feeling outside of community. How do you create community?
The biggest pillar for me in creating community right now is people that I can be authentic with. So anytime I connect with people and feel like for just the slightest moment that I need to hide something about myself or hinder or shrink to fit into spaces, I avoid that at all costs. So community for me, what I value in people right now and what helps me connect with people is just being able to be honest, have honest conversation. I'm not going to unload on everybody, but just being able to have real, honest conversations. That's what I look for in people that I connect with. And that's my hope for the communities that I do build now that I'm back in New York and on the East Coast and figuring things out.
That's cool. Somebody wrote, corporation versus competition towards betterment of one another. Could you explain that for us a little bit?
Hi, y'all. I'm Javelle. Hi. So, I don't know if anyone has ever tried to fit in somewhere. And the first thing that you'll realize is there's always systems in place. And you have to work through certain hoops and certain things in order to make it into the group, which is not necessarily all bad. We take that from the days where we were hunter-gatherers, et cetera, et cetera. However, I think the strongest communities and the ones that survive are the ones where you're not pitting each other against each other off the bat. It's just you come in, you say who you are, and we said, okay, cool. How can we help you? How can I help you? Because at the end of the day, we're all people. We're all in this world. This world is hard as hell to work through. And whether we label ourselves 10 million things, at the end of the day, we're still human. And we move forward as a group than not. It's all about survival. And I think community is where we should really focus and start to really help each other survive.
Amen.
I love that. Yeah, for me, community has really been about who am I pouring into and who's pouring back into me? You know, I know that I give a lot and have not always acknowledged how much I'm receiving back. So a lot of times you find yourself being drained. So I've really been like looking at who is filling me back up in order to like be in close vicinity of my community. Because I think, you know, you can't, for me, I don't just cut people off, but I think there is a level of having to give people space and setting boundaries because people will exhaust your resources. Oh, this is a good question. So, what is most important to you when making friendships and building relationships? What's most important to you, Yanni?
I think what I said before, honesty. On here, let's see.
But you can say your answer.
Yeah,
but
no, honesty for sure. I guess I would probably fall under other or mutual interests. It is important. Like I love my work, and I've gotten to a place in life where I understand that my work is my life. So I like to be around people who love to work. Shout out to Javelle. We love to work, so we bond off of that, and I think that's mutual interest is important. And for other, if I would definitely have checked other, and I think it would be just people that I could be honest with. Yeah, that's super important to me more than anything else.
I think in this phase of my life, it really is about, just your values and how you value yourself. For us to even be able to connect, I can see different points in my life where I have made connections with people based off of things that could have possibly felt superficial or just may have not been of value to me, and seeing how those relationships have played out. Mutual interest for sure. I would love to hear from somebody that put other.
Yes.
Anybody want to share that put other?
Now you hit it on the nose. You said honesty, you know what I mean, and transparency and conversation. You know what I mean. Like at this point in my life, I had to find a way to not go ham when I meet a new person. But like in these first conversations, this dialogue. What do you want this exchange to be? And also just like I kind of let people know ahead of time that I'm really about for the space. You said that before, the space between me and you, but I'm always available type thing. So like when you build a community, letting people know that you're not ghosting, you're actually giving them the space, right? But the other thing, and this has just recently come up with me, a friend of mine just said something to me when I met her. She was going through something. And I'm being really honest now. Instead of like, how are you doing? And I told her today, I was like, I'm unhappy and don't feel great. But but she's so used to me not ever saying things like that. She was really going through something specifically terrible. And she said, oh, I didn't want to bother you. And I was like, okay, so we had a conversation about what it looks like when you're in a space of danger. If I say I'm unhappy, it's fine. You need to holler at me. But I also found out the other people she had in her network, and I was happy she was able to go to 2, 3, 4, the other people. You know what I mean? But like conversations like that, being transparent. What do you want? And then also asking the question, how can I be a good friend to you? And a lot of people are not ready to answer that question.
I love that answer. Yeah, I think that's so important. That's something I've learned recently is being able to really ask people how I could be of service as their friend and really meaning that. Because I think some people ask how you're doing and they don't always care or they're not really ready to receive that. And I think I've gotten to a space of like, how can I be of support? And I think that's something I value and something that that exchange is super important to me. So thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that because I had a conversation with my best friend recently, somebody I've been knowing since I was 17. And, you never think about like checking in with your friends in that way. But he asked me, how can he be of support to me in this phase of my life? Like, that support evolves as we evolve. And I love being able to have, again, honesty with people and have those type of conversations. So, yeah, I love these answers.
I will say I used to be a social status person, just being transparent, like trying to navigate the music industry, trying to advance my career, I used to align myself with people who just felt like they were doing things that I could benefit from, and never in a way that felt like I was using them, because I'm just not that type of person. But I would be able to kind of zero in and see like, oh, you got something cool going on. I'm talented. Let's figure this out. But those were some of the the hardest relationships to navigate, because at their foundation, I didn't really care about these people, and I wasn't able to be honest with them. And my value system for them was rooted in like, they can bring me to sessions or they can take me to so and so, and those were hard things to break away from, because I had to understand like, oh, like I don't value this person, and that's why we're struggling to be friends. So yeah.
I want to go back to the other part of another thing that I thought of was background, because there's certain things I feel like other people will never fully empathize or even sympathize with you. My best friend, I'm going through a breakup, I was telling them earlier, but I've known them since I was like 12, like 7th grade, like stem cell research project. And I was going through this breakup, and there was months where we just don't talk, no tea or anything. We just have lives. And I came, and they fully bathed me and like put lotion on. I couldn't move. And that's some things that other friends, I would never call them for. I don't even want to talk to them about. I don't know why I'm telling you that, but like, they're like, but it's
the
true
art of letting
that,
go.
but but yeah, for real, like, but background is so important, like, especially in marginalized communities. Like, there's certain things, like, respectfully, like, straight people will never understand for queer lives. White people will never understand Black, brown, indigenous, any other oppressed groups. They'll never empathize no matter how hard they try. So I think background and history is important as well.
I like that too, and that speaks to me in dating as well, because I've been a very open person as far as like being open to dating whoever, but there is that disconnect sometimes in, like you said, dating a white person that just is oblivious to feeling anything that you're communicating. So I agree with that as well.
We had that talk yesterday, actually. I know we were reflecting on Juneteenth, and you had expressed some friends who had white partners who over the years broke up with them because of just their lack of understanding around Juneteenth. And I couldn't wrap my head around that, because I've always connected with people who share background with, that at some level kind of know where I'm from. So I've never opened myself up enough to partners who don't know my background, so I couldn't even understand it. So I appreciate you sharing that with me yesterday, because I was like, how the hell can you date somebody that wouldn't understand Juneteenth? But some people really do open themselves up to just anybody for any reason.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different conversation. Yeah. But just at that basic level of like, and you don't even have to have the same background. I think it's just empathy. Really is empathy. I think a lot of people lack empathy, but I think sharing similar roots helps with that. So I think that is an important thing. Yeah.
Ooh, this is interesting. I feel encouraged to love myself within the LGBT community. And even if you are not a part of the LGBT community, does the LGBT community make you feel like you can love yourself?
You go first.
You know what? Well, I'm gonna be honest. I will say that my community makes me feel like I can love myself. I think the overall LGBT community, I'm gonna say no. And I think it's because I don't fit into a box of what it means or what it looks like to be LGBT. I look at a lot of these, just what's put in our faces as what it means to be a queer Black man. You look at like, the Moby Fest. You look at, what's the other one? Native Son. You look at all of these places, and everybody is very attractive, which I'm very attractive, don't get me wrong. But, it is the selling of sex, and I don't really sell sex. So I don't feel like the community appreciates me in the way that I appreciate myself. But I do feel there are people within the community that do give me the space to appreciate my full self and love my full self. So I wouldn't say the entire community, but I would say the people that are part of my community make me feel empowered. How about you?
I mean, it's such a nuanced question because we're not just one community, even though media sometimes feels that way. I have access to so many different communities that are queer based. As an artist, navigating the queer music scene, I don't always feel appreciated because it just tends to be more white leaning and more pop leaning and more extravagance. I'm kind of understated guy. When I go into like other communities, like bare spaces that have never felt like safe spaces for me ever. So yeah, no, not there. And yeah, I don't know. I think I've had to learn that there are opportunities for us as queer people to create more representation. And because I am a public figure, just trying to be a part of that and find different ways to connect with people. But no, I don't always feel encouraged to love myself by the queer communities that are most easily accessible to me.
Anybody in the audience want to add to that? I would also love to hear from female feels like I was gonna say a female voice. Female sounds weird, but I would love to hear from a woman because
Our experiences are rooted in the male, yeah.
The community is so male dominant and masculinity dominant. Like I would love to hear like just your perspective of what it is. Yes.
Hi, y'all. I'm TK. And I like long walks on the beach.
Yes.
I mean, if you taking me, okay. So, do I feel encouraged? I'm a neutral. I think also, like, because I'm a late bloomer to a lot of stuff, but especially, like, my queer self, right? Like, I just didn't have that encouragement growing up to, like, literally go out and make friends. Like, I was not encouraged, you know? So to be like, go make a friend. It was very insular. Like, you already have 17 cousins. Why do you need friends? You know, like, so I came to all this very late, I feel, and I just never really, you know, like, I'll go to the parties and I'll go to just different spaces. Just always feels like everyone's already a family already. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone already has their tribe. So, like, I could imagine, like, moving to a new city. Like, this, it just feels like every time I go to an event, I've moved to a new city. And I don't know anybody because I'm just mad late. Like, so, but I know that it's cool for me to be here, so that's why I feel neutral. Like, it's cool, I'm safe, I know it, we all have this thing in common. However, y'all already set up. set up. So I just kind of feel neutral because I just haven't been, you know, like, just like, hey, come on, girl. You know, like, I just haven't had that, like, exchange yet.
Thank you for sharing.
I want to get back on what TK said. I think also there's so much toxic masculinity within the queer community, women included. Like a lot of exactly, like I'm bisexual and I know everyone rolls their eyes at that because biphobia exists in the straight world and in the gay world. You know, I've heard lesbians be like, I'll never fucking date a bisexual. And I'm like, it's almost like no matter what, you're never enough in X community or Y community. So what's the point? And I feel like, you know, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And so much of it is rooted in misogyny and racism in the queer community. And I like what you said earlier about like, you're grateful for the, you know, like Pride Month and what's all that, but it's the smaller communities that you have within the larger one. Because I think it's a farce. Like, I think like Pride Month is fake. Like, you know, like it's a capitalistic society thing for like Target to sell their rainbow flags. Like, I hate rainbow. I fucking hate rainbow. But I think it's true. No, I'll talk about it. But like who even made these flags? Whatever. But like I don't want my color to be purple, pink, whatever. But I think it's amazing though, because then you find like the small glimmers of hope, AKA glimmers of people. Like you guys, like I've never met you guys in my entire life, and I'm like I could cry of how like welcomed I feel. So this is what the Pride Month I'm looking for. This is my Pride Month.
Period. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
And I'm not gonna lie, I prefer the bisexual flag colors over.
I was gonna shout you out.
They're kind of fire.
He said it recently. He was like, they got the hardest flag. All right, right. It's just empty. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh man. This a card question? Okay. So how does your community impact your romantic relationships?
I don't know.
I mean, for me, my community is very protective of me. So, like, they are looking at everybody like, okay, we know what type of person you are. I want to get to know who this other person is. So my community has been very influential in the sense of like wanting to know what I'm doing, but not pushy in a way of trying to control or judge where I'm at. Like even when I have been in relationships where, you know, my community wasn't, you know, they didn't like the person. Simple as that. They didn't like them, but they let me go through my own journey with it. So that's my experience.
I feel like I think I've only had one relationship where I really like was immersed in community with that relationship. And they were supportive. I think for a good chunk of my life, I kind of kept my queerness and the rest of my life separate. So I didn't really have a lot of conflict when it came to like community in my relationships. And I've always been really good at picking partners. So people have always kind of respected the people I've dated. I've always dated from such an authentic space that I've always kind of fallen into that space of like, man, it's really cool that you have like this partner that like you guys like each other. And I'm like, shouldn't everybody be like that? And
so for
it's
me,
not the thing for everybody.
I mean, I wasn't always open about my sexuality. I didn't open up about my sexuality until I was 26. I'm 37 right now. So that was 2012. So a lot of my friends when I first started dating were just like, shit, I'm just glad to hear you having sex with somebody. But as I started to date, like they wanted to, like my friends and even my family have been so invested in my queerness that they're like, I want to know what's going on with you. My dad even asked me once, like I had an appointment for PrEP, and my dad, and for those that don't know, PrEP is like the, you know, HIV protection drug. But drug sounds so like drug.
Medicine. Say medicine.
Drug, you got that PrEP. But yeah, my dad was like, oh, you want me to go with you? And I was like, this is awkward as fuck. But at the same time, yeah, you could come with me. So it was cool. Yeah. I don't know why I shared that.
No.
Again, the art of letting go.
I like this one right here, just because we are a larger room of people of color, and I know that a lot of times dating non-people of color can be a challenge. So you don't have to answer. I know it's you. Right. But I think that's an important thing to bring up, just because I know that for a lot of queer people who don't have access.
Can you read what it says first?
Yes, it says my partner, ex, thank God, was white and felt like it was always competition with my community, and I was blessed to be born and raised here in New York City, where my experience as a queer person was largely surrounded by other queer people of color. But as I've branched out into the world, I've seen a lot of people have kind of just had to deal with whiteness as they're figuring out their sexuality, as they're figuring out their culture. And I've realized that's been tough for a lot of people. So
I think, you know, because I always see the debates on Black Twitter and about Black people dating white people, and I'm empathetic of those people because my journey started that way. Like when I wasn't out, I did have a lot of partners that were Black, and when I came out, a lot of the Black men that were out, I came out in LA, and a lot of the men in LA didn't like Black men because they reminded them of family members, or they didn't like Black men because they weren't attracted to Black men. Which is wild, because if you are looking in the mirror, you are Black as well. But, you know, for me, I'm the type of person where it's like, I'm going to go where the love is. So it's like, if I'm not getting love here, yeah, I'm going to go over here. Like, But also I experienced those challenges as well of like people that they build this idea of who they think you're supposed to be because of your race or whatever. And then when you show them you're a full human being, they're like, what is this? Again, the art of letting go. Prospects seem to want everything to be easy when nothing in life is. We're swiping in real life and it impacts me and my immediate community. Oh, somebody want to speak on that?
I knew it. I didn't want to stare at you. I know my friend.
Yeah, it's me again. Well, yeah, I love art and my art is inspired very much by love. I sing about it probably too much. But what I've realized in most recent years is finding someone shouldn't be as difficult as it is in this generation. And I think that's because we have fallen victim to wanting quote unquote better and faster. Our food is fast, we can call an Uber, or we don't have to, hail a cab. Like everything is fast. And I think it's seeped into our community. And I want to say it's universal, like within the queer and straight community. However, because we get to define our own lines within the queer community, it's become these are our laws. And now already feeling ostracized in, certain groups and not leaning as sexually charged as, we're led to believe that we're supposed to be, which again, if that's you, girl, that's you. But no, literally, I have friends that do whatever. But when it comes down to creating meaningful relationships, we got a lot of work to do there. Yeah. And I think a lot of it also stems from just a lot of trauma, no shade, from the fact that a lot of us growing up either didn't get that full realized love from parents to friends to like no one understood, and that we've held that and it's seeping more and more and more. Before we had a couple of friends that were open. It's like, oh, that's the open couple. I was like, oh, that's that's kind of cool. Do you? Now it seems like it's again become almost like a law. It's like this is where we're headed. This is where we're supposed to head. And yeah, I'm worried. I'm very worried because, and I keep telling my friends this too, it's like we keep trying to make everything easy. And I think that might be just a human trait because recently, off topic, I read that this man who invests in AI is trying to create an AI version of you that sits in for your meetings.
And dates for you too. They date for you as well.
So what's the point?
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Yeah. Same.
So you get my point. It's
Yeah.
like we're trying to get everything to be so easy.
Yep.
And relationships, who you choose as a partner, 1, 2, however many, will be one of the most important decisions you'll ever make in your life. And that will never be easy. So, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that, and shout out to this room. You all are dynamic and beautiful and sweet people. But when we've done this in the past, a few slides back, when we talk about how people pick friends, a lot of people did pick like attractiveness or things like that. And what you're talking about to me goes back to the idea of like, I think as queer people, and again, maybe this is just my lens as a queer man, but a lot of the friendships and people that I've seen creating community tend to be rooted in attractiveness and social status and nothing really deeper than that. So I think that does feed into that sort of fast lifestyle of like, you're hot, let's be together. Oh shit, we have nothing in common. Next person, next. And but there's no depth to it. So shout out to y'all for maybe not having that issue, because I don't think anybody picked attractiveness, or maybe like one person. But yeah, that's come up in different rooms that we've done this in.
I know we at the Soho House, and I know everybody here is some type of creative or artist or doing some type of networking in this building. And I'm curious to know, is it easier for you to network with LGBTQ plus people?
Change my answer. I can't do it, but I do change it.
What's your answer?
I said true, and I'm like thinking back. I'm like networking. I thought of networking of just like getting along, like because like I can't think of anything worse than being in like a frat house or like a bar with a bunch of straight men. That is my worst case scenario. So, and I'd rather be with the dolls, the queens. But networking, the straights are better. Sorry, like they are better. They are better because they actually are like, I think they're like actually willing to listen to you more genuinely. Where I have noticed, and I could be wrong, but this is my experience, a lot of queer people, they're still up here inside of their own mind. They're not willing to think of you. That's real. Sorry. So anyways, I changed my answer.
That's a good response, though. I like that because I think, and to go back to kind of what you were saying about being a late bloomer, I think so many of us are, as queer people, are still coming into our, we all have like these second and third puberties that we're kind of navigating, that kind of have us up here. So it is hard to connect if we're like, should I just figure out I'm bisexual? Should I just figure out I'm trans? Like, should I just started figuring out how to like my body and like, things that maybe and not to say that straight people don't go through that forever, because they do, but I think queer people, we have a tendency to have a third and fourth version of that makes it hard to network. But I personally, I spent the first half of my career just navigating straight spaces, and it was hard as fuck for me because I felt like I could not be my authentic self. And because so much of what I care about now is rooted in helping marginalized voices, it is easier for me to connect with queer people because like my focus is like, how do I amplify our voices? So when I'm in those spaces, it's very easier for me to just be very direct. Like, how can I help make you bigger? How can I help amplify your voice? Javelle and I do this work all the time, like writing music together and trying to figure out like, how do we represent more queer people? So it does feel easier for me in that sense.
I think for me, it has been easier to navigate straight spaces for networking just because when I'm thinking about my business, my art, whatever it is that I'm trying to connect with somebody on, I don't want to think about sex. And a lot of times the sex comes up so just easy. And I don't want to deal with that. Like, I don't want to hear a sexual joke. I don't want to be sexualized. Like, that's just where I'm at. We talking about the gays. We talking about the gays. Now, you want to share it?
Experience of specifically going into queer spaces for that particular purpose, so I can't necessarily answer that question yet. So
Look, we did we did a Black Queer Creative Summit last year, and I remember they flew us out to LA to all network and work, and I remember people on the bus. I think Javelle was in the back. Were you in the back of the bus with me?
I remember exactly what I said to you.
Yes, and was it you? I remember somebody else told me, like, we were all talking about what we were there for, and they were like, "Child, I'm here for a husband." And
Wasn't
me. There were people that were there exclusively, like we were there to network, create. It was a creative summit, and there were people that were out every night of the summit. There were people that were very specifically there, yes, for a partner.
They gave us a dress code. Like, they said dress business casual. People came in suits with no shirts under them, oiled up. Like, what is this? Professional pride.
The amount of unsolicited midsections that we saw and nipples. Go ahead, Javelle. Sorry, you have the floor.
No. You're fine.
Please censor any names you're gonna say.
Yes, I'm so sorry, but whatever. I remember the way that we met was, I don't know if you can tell, but I like to talk. I do like to talk. And no one was talking. So I started striking up the conversation, and Yanni goes, yeah, my anxiety is acting up. And then I was like, yeah, everyone is. It's okay. It's all right to talk. And then we just ended up talking from there. But to talk about the topic at hand, I do think there is a difference between networking and collaborating. And in every company that I've ever worked, I'm usually the front facing person who talks to everyone and networks with everyone. So I'm pretty good at like reading a room, deciphering a room, seeing who to talk to, whether it is a social mobility thing, because a lot of the times I would have to cut deals, et cetera, or I just want to know who you are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the difference that I found in straight spaces is if you're in the room, you're with them. Granted, you may have your own hurdles, such as being a woman in the room, being the only black person in the room, being the only queer person in the room. However, if you're in the room and you at least sound like you know what you're talking about, they will put the sounding of what you're talking about ahead of the surface. Working together might be a little bit difficult as we hop through the hurdles and figure out, how do we align everything. But within the queer spaces, unfortunately, what I found, again, I like to talk and go into rooms and see what everything's happening and about. I've noticed that before we even get to what you can bring, it's usually the surface level stuff. It's like, how do you look? What are you wearing? How tall are you? It's almost like you're in the room, but now you must earn my respect. Yeah. And again, trauma.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of trauma. But here's the beauty with that. Not beauty, but around that. When you do find the person in the room, which clocked it, day one, when you do collaborate, it is the most beautiful thing on the planet. Beautiful. I can be having the worst week, and Yanni and I will hop into the studio, and next thing you know, can I cuss?
Go for it.
Yeah, next thing you know, I'm shaking ass. And it's just beautiful, So there's a difference between, I think, networking and collaborating.
Thank you.
Right? Thank you. I know we could have this conversation all day, but I wanted to, my listeners sent in some questions as well for you guys, so I'll share those. But the last question I have for this portion was, how can we create a more inclusive and or supportive spaces for people of color, queer people of color? What actions can we take? What do you have?
I would say, just kind of to piggyback off what he was just saying, I think really connecting with people for more reasons than just attractiveness or status, really finding mutual ground with people and building from those spaces, I think is better. I think if, as queer people, we stop prioritizing what we look like and who we want to sleep with, I think we'd have a lot more fruitful friendships that can grow into other things if that's what people want. But for the sake of working and networking and just building community, I think that would be my response. I think we should shift how we connect with people.
I like that. I think for me, empathy, because all of our journeys are so different. We've all experienced different things in our lives and our queer journeys. So really just being empathetic of people and giving them the space to show up however they decide to show up on that day. You know what I mean? We all have done different levels of work. So it's if we connect, have respect for the work that somebody's done, but also be a sponge, learn, but also give. You know what I mean? We were talking about earlier, that pouring back and forth, pour into that person, receive, but also have those boundaries.
And I would say also create the spaces that you want, this, doing stuff like this is important. We can complain about it all day, but if you're not going out there and creating the spaces, shout out to you for creating the space, for inviting these people, shout out to y'all for coming. I think it's important to create the spaces you want to see because, again, queerness is not one thing. There's so many different ways to navigate it and exist, and we just have to create more spaces.
I love that. Let's see, what are some of these responses? Be about our business. Be authentic and connect with each other through our hearts and objectives. Be open to the ways people come to their queerness. Yes, their story will be different from yours. I agree with that.
I love that.
create a safe space, and bring other people up with you. Ooh,
That
y'all
part.
coming with it.
That part.
Be about our business. Did I read that one? Be about our business? I probably did.
Reset the rooms.
It's that dark and stormy. You wanted to share something?
Everyone, Maria.
Hi.
I think definitely bringing people up with you. I think that there's not enough of that being a Latina woman. I know how important it is to identify other people in the room and how they might want to have a voice and really kind of, like mentioned here, be open to other people's stories. I feel like a lot of people, especially in the straight space, they don't really want to hear your story. And that's where I guess business can be business because that is not involved. But in reality, you don't end up collaborating. You don't end up having an actual connection with another person. And therefore, how can you get to know your business partner? Or how can you get to know someone that, hopefully you could have a future with outside of business too, So bring other people up if you have the opportunity, or in, a place of management where you see someone that you could bring up with you.
That's real. That's so real.
Thank you.
The snaps, yes, snaps.
So I think I had a couple of listener questions after this. I know they told us we gotta wrap up. Well, they said we got it till 9, so we may push it a little bit. But I had some listeners send in some questions, so maybe you guys can help me respond to these. But the first listener question was, what does pride mean for Black folks who come out later in life?
I can't answer that.
What's later in life? Like I said, 26 for me. Yeah, it is late. For me, yeah, I don't know. That feels so far long ago when I think about it now. Like I've been so out now that it's like shit. I don't know what that person was, but
Same.
I think it was really about accepting. I think I've always had the attraction, like probably since as early as I can remember, like middle school. And I thought I could pray the gay away, and that didn't work. And here we are today. 100% gay.
I would hope, I like that. I would hope it means freedom, because that would be my hope for anybody coming out later in life, is that they just feel free. Like, I would want that. I feel like I've always allowed myself to experience my queerness, even in times of my life where I wasn't out, but I felt pretty.
I like that too. I feel more whole. I feel more whole as well. I
like
think
that.
once I was able to release that, I was able to be my full self. And, my friends tell me that today, like they really appreciate who I am today as opposed to who I was, because I'm so dynamic. Still a celebration, right? So like, I'm so
dynamic. Wow.
Anybody want to add to that on the microphone? Anybody want to share? Okay.
Hi, y'all listeners. It's Ty again. So I said it's still a celebration because you have arrived to a place of full authenticity, whatever, pathway. If you came out when you was 15, came out when you're 66, you still have arrived at a place of full authenticity. You know who you are, and you don't have that internal conflict. Because I know with my coming out story, I was also like you, Mike, praying the gay away. Like, I wasn't doing nothing. I was like, I'm not talking to no mans. I was basically a monk. Like, I was like, I ain't doing nothing. Like, I truly was like a late bloomer. And I feel like I'm now, like, in my 30s, like, really reaching my queer powers. They're full peak.
Pride and Juneteenth.
Pride and
Yes.
Juneteenth. I
Come
am
on.
at my zenith, okay? Yeah. I am Storm, all right? I'm Storm. But I just feel like I come into contact with a lot of older Black queer men who are now arriving at that space. And it's still a joy just to see them like happy, and they just get a little loose and lax in their shoulders, like a little, zesty. I know that's a problematic word, but they feel that zest of life, like, hey, I'm here. I finally got to a place where I don't care about what people think about my sexual orientation. Like, I get to do whatever I want, and it's still a celebration, so that's what I would say.
Yes. Thank you. You want me to read this one? How do you navigate the intersection of racial and sexual identity in your self-relationship?
And that was from Jeremiah M. Anybody want to answer that? I'm sorry I looked at you, but
Therapy. That's it. Genuinely therapy. I think a big thing is okay, long story short, I do stand-up comedy, and I did a small clip. I posted on social about like how like Arabs, like we're the queerest motherfuckers in the entire world. Like it's in our language, like, like we eat pussy, we suck dick. We're good at that. I posted that on my social, and it blew up. And I thought, I was like, oh my God, I'm going viral. But no, you had one group of people who are Arab phobic or Islamophobic telling you they're gonna throw you off the window. And then you actually had Arabs being like, we're gonna throw you off the window. And so I feel like there's this constant feeling like every time you take 2 steps forward, there's like 50 steps back. Because your racial identity and sexual identity are more intertwined than we actually think, because it's so a part of you as your identity as a human being on this earth. And I feel like my soul comes first. I think that's like, I don't know who said that. Like, I want to give this to him, or what, I don't know your pronouns, if I said it correctly. I want to give this to you so you could speak on the soul part. But I think that's the big part, is asking yourself, like, I'm all of me, and if I can't give all of me, then what's the point, you know?
Snap, snap, snap.
Hey y'all, it's me again. Chevelle. It's funny because I was thinking about this at least by Monday, and I don't want this to come off in the wrong way, but I am more than being Black, and I am more than being queer, though I love both equally. And so when it comes to making decisions, I am not leaning more so much on my identities. I'm leaning on what feels good here and if it makes sense. So I'm logical, and I'm also thinking about what makes sense here. Like, just because, you know, I am queer, like we just spoke about how I don't necessarily feel, you know, aligned with certain things. So then do I just make that decision because it's what everyone else is saying? Or the same with being Black, where it's like, am I making this decision because everyone else is saying it versus this is what I feel? And if you're not, and it's not in an egoic way, because I'm not telling you like this is how you should feel. But it's more so, if we aren't listening to that still small voice inside, are we actually free?
Period. Bars. Period.
Can I jump in?
What strategies can interracial couples of Oh, sorry.
I'm like, hold on.
My bad. No,
I
go
want
for
to
it.
comment on the new question,
Yes,
though.
go for it.
Just too much. We gotta go back to the old one real quick. Stress. I'm stuck on it. It's so stressful. But in terms of navigating racial and sexual identity, I feel like I'm super Black about all the things, like the way I see the world. Like, it's just what it is, right? Blackity black, right? But as I lean more into my queerness and who I am, and I find more things to be super Black about, because I find that like the challenges intertwine so much, right? Like, in all the ways that we live as Black people primarily, but people of color, right? Non-white people, like, we have to like, you have to queer the world, as they say, right? To live in it, right? We have all these life hacks. We gotta figure shit out, like how to move through spaces. And I'm like, this is just extra Black. I'm Black on top of Black. Like, this is just extra, like, how I'm living already. So, and then just with like weird other, like, now you have to, you know, fight the internal stuff, right? The family and those other pressures. But I'm like, how can y'all not see it? So when they're not on board with me, I'm like, how can you not see it? Like, we've been here the whole time. We've been fighting and struggling. I'm like, yo, y'all not with me on this? Like, seriously? So then I actually, like, I'm happy because I'm like, wow, like, I just found another way to blackify my life. But then I'm sad because they don't see it. So then that's, I'm navigating right now.
I love that because I think we talk so much in our creative spaces about defining our intersections for ourselves because, just I can speak for myself being a black man, and especially in music and R&B music and urban music, there's such a specific idea of what that looks like. And then also trying to pair that with being a queer man, there's such a specific idea of what that looks like and being at odds, and then just realizing like, wait a minute, I'm a creative. I make songs out of nowhere. I make skits out of nowhere. I can make up the kind of person I want to be and really owning that. So that's kind of what I hear what you saying. It's just like, oh, I don't have to do this any other way. And if anything, doing it my own way makes my identity even more authentic, whether it is being proud in your blackness and your queerness. It's like, oh, I'm redefining this shit for me. And we all deserve that because most of us don't adhere to the shit that was given to us. It was given to us. Like, we don't have to keep it. We don't have to live with that. Let that shit go. Yeah.
The art of letting go.
Hey. Yes.
This might be our last question. I'm sorry, y'all. I closed with such a heavy question. But what strategies can interracial couples of color use to navigate societal and familial pressures? I'm going to be honest. I don't have an answer. Yeah. I really don't. I would love if somebody wanted to share, but I do not have an answer for this one.
No.
Anybody have an answer?
Interracial couples of color, so like not white, black, like so like Puerto
Rican, black, Latino. Yeah. Listen, I like that. Well, I was about to sing the Beyonce. I'm here on my own.
Stop being an F word.
Of two people of color, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
I know you just asked that. Right, like.
Yeah, I think so.
I think listen is great. Like, I don't think there's another answer.
Patience.
And patience. Communication.
Not trying to outdo each other with oppression.
Not trying to outdo each other with oppression.
That's the one.
That's a bar.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah.
Yes. I love that.
You've reached that.
And that was all I have for y'all. Woo! That was all I have for y'all. Thank y'all so much for being a part of this episode. Thank you, YawnyBlew, for being a guest. This has been The Art of Letting Go, and we will catch y'all on the next one. Thank you.
Amen.
This was great. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of The Art of Letting Go. If you like what you heard, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. But most of all, please subscribe to the Patreon because Patreon has a free option now. And that's really where I'm trying to move to, sharing all the new episodes and new shows I'm working on. I'm working on about 3 shows right now. And I would love for y'all to just continue to grow with me on this journey. You know, we've been on this journey for a while together, and I want to continue to grow with y'all. And I really don't be feeling like sharing it all publicly like that no more. So join me on the Patreon journey. Also, please sign up for my newsletter. Like I said, I have other outlets of sharing now. And again, the podcast, we just trying to take this to a larger scale. So I'm doing live shows and all that good stuff. And you know, I just want to keep y'all up to date with everything that's going on and, you know, also hear where y'all at in the journey. So again, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Please sign up for the Patreon. I think it's the Art of Letting Go podcast on Patreon. And yeah, thank y'all so much for being on this journey with me. And I will catch y'all on the next one. This has been The Art of Letting Go.